Welcome to our Go Lumio webinar series. Here we are providing continuous opportunities highlighting how Lumio can provide a fluid workflow and benefit the teachers and students. We'll show you how to create the lessons and activities focused on classroom instructional strategies. Again, my name is Anshu and I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager based in Ottawa, Canada here. This week's webinar, Planet Tech, Inspiring K-12 Learners on Earth Day with Lumio, features our presenters, Michelle and Terry, who are both professional development specialists. We encourage your participation. If you have any questions, please ask those in the chat box during the presentation, and we will integrate them into the flow or hold them to be answered at the end during our Q&A period. We'll be sharing resources from today's webinar in the chat. Also, for participating today, a certificate will be provided after you complete a brief survey. So at this point, I'm going to turn things over to me so that we can dive into today's webinar, Planet Tech, Inspiring K-12 Learners on Earth Day with Lumio. Over to you,
everyone. Thanks, Anshu. Thanks for the intro there. I'm going to go ahead and apologize in advance for my dog. He might be making an appearance with a couple barks here and there today. But as Anshu said, my name is Michelle, and I'm a professional development specialist here at Smart, loving all things Lumio. We love that you guys are introducing yourselves in the chat. I am located in Arizona, and I'm looking at the chat, and it looks like we've got people from all over, and that is so exciting.
It is a worldwide event, Mish. I love it.
I love it. Looks like we've got Lebanon, Europe, New York, Palm Beach, Maryland. Oh my gosh, so many different places. This is exciting that we're celebrating Earth Day worldwide. For those of us that are new here, if this is your first time here, welcome. And we're so excited that you're here to learn about Lumio. So what exactly is Lumio? Lumio is a web-based browser, and it is a digital tool for transforming your lessons and making them interactive and engaging experiences for your students.
And that is awesome. And I put the link in the chat so you can join me, because we're going to do a lot of different activities today. So if you'll click right on that link, you can join as a guest, put in whatever name you want so we know who's with us.
Yeah, go ahead, join on into our lesson as we learn here about Earth Day. We're going to have you guys interact as students from the very beginning to see how your students can engage with a Lumio lesson. Again, that link is in the chat. It's hellosmart.com. And you're going to join with my class ID, and my class ID is 181461. Here's another quick way for you to join in. hellosmart.com, 181461. Just wait another second here to let folks join in.
And if you're having trouble joining in, you can always type in the chat, and Anshu will be happy to help you get in. All right, Mish, let's start this up.
Awesome. And in case you're still joining in, no worries. You'll be able to hop in exactly where we are when you are ready. So when I'm doing a lesson, I like to always have a little slide about all the facts about what it is that we're going to talk about, because you never know what kind of students you're going to have. They're going to have the questions, right? So as we start learning about Earth Day, I like to have some facts right on the screen for them. When did Earth Day start? You know, it started in the 70s, and I like to tell my students it is on the same day every year, and that is April 22nd. I cannot believe, Terry, that it's already like mid-April, the end of April. I can't.
I can't either. And then I was telling Mish earlier, I was interested in the 1970. I might be a little bit older than her, and we were talking about things that were in a shortage back then. It made sense. That's when Earth Day kind of started. So it's kind of nice to have this background information and people start asking the whys.
Isn't it interesting what kind of shortages we have now compared to then?
That is correct.
All right, so as my students, we engage with our lesson here. We start talking about the facts. I would love to know, what does Earth Day mean to you? So I went ahead and made this question into a whole class whiteboard. So there's a few different ways to engage with the screen. If this is, again, your first time participating with Lumio, you would click on the A button here. Then you click on the screen and you can go ahead and type out your response. Alternatively, if you're on an iPad or even on your computer, you could write your response. And then another fun way is you can actually click on these little icons here, go to the image, And then you can also bring in a picture, and it goes from Bing Safe Search. So these are all pre-approved pictures that are safe for your students to be able to see. So with that being said, what does Earth Day mean to you?
As soon as you type and click outside the box, it'll automatically show up on Misha's screen and on all of ours also at the same time.
I
Ooh, I
love that.
love
Earth Day is a reminder of our responsibility to care for our planet. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Making resources available for longer. I like to go ahead and go in here. I go to my icons. I like to bring in my heart, drag it out here, and I like to put it by a response that maybe I agree with. So a few different things that you can do as a teacher from this screen is, as you can see, these responses are coming in anonymous. Maybe I'm wondering whose response belongs to which one of my students. So I can go ahead and click on this response here, making resources available for longer. If I click on it and click on that little down arrow, I can see that Terry actually is the one that made that response. Another thing I can do from this screen is, if you've got a group of students and they're losing control a little bit and you need them to regroup, at the top right of my screen, I have this option here that says everyone can edit. When I toggle that on your end right now, you'll see that you can no longer play with my screen here. I'm going to give my instructions again, regroup my students, and then when I feel like they're ready, I can go ahead and turn that back on, and then you'll see on your end, you can engage with that screen again.
I love whole class whiteboards to start the class. And this is a great one for Earth Day because it's what does it mean to them? For a kindergarten kid, it's going to mean something way different than it's going to mean to a fifth grader, than it's going to mean to a high schooler.
Another great thing about doing this activity virtually and getting it started that way before maybe having an out loud discussion is, you've got some shy students, or maybe the same students are always, raising their hands and talking. So this is a really great way to give those students that are maybe a little bit more shy a different entry point into participating in the discussion, because maybe they don't want to say it out loud, but we can pick on their response here, read it out loud, and then everyone can go ahead and spark up that discussion. So we love doing a whole class whiteboard like this.
Giving every kid voice. That's awesome.
I'm seeing some great responses come on here. It's a call to action to protect the environment, conserve resources, and foster sustainability for future generations. Wow, that is a strong response there. I love that. Planting trees with my students, time to look at the beauty in our world, recycling, which allows preserving the natural resources. These are all wonderful.
All right, what else do you have in store for us, Mish?
Let's see what's next. All right, so here, we like to start our little mini lessons with the YouTube video. And 2 points I like to make here is, when you turn your back to your students for just a second, you can lose them. And so if you're ever projecting on your screen, or if you've got a smartboard, you don't want to turn your back and have to switch tabs between having your Google Slides and maybe your YouTube video. Having your YouTube video right in your Lumio file kind of prevents that. And in addition, if you didn't know this, if it's your first time with Lumio, if you bring your YouTube video in within this lesson, you don't get any ads. So if I click play here, you'll see that it jumps right into the start of my video. You can see that in the beginning, there's no ads, and there's no breaks throughout here that have any ads either. So we're going to keep that exposure to those advertisements at a bare minimum here.
It's a great way to kick off any lesson, to give them some information. And now let's see what they know.
Exactly. I use a lot of YouTube, whether it's for information or a brain break. I like to have them all throughout. And it says, in your group, list 4 things you can do that will benefit the earth. Now, if you're working with a group of students that you know that they really need instructions before you release them to work on something, I went ahead here, and you can see on your end, you can't do anything on your screen quite yet. So if I click on my little people management tool here, here's where I can convert it to an activity. Now, I could have done this when I was creating my lesson in advance, but again, if I've got that group of students, I really want to tell them what to do first before I make an activity. Here's how you can convert it right on the fly. So I can make it into a group workspace here. And I can choose how many teams I'd like to have. Let's see, we've got 9 people logged in, so maybe we'll do 3 groups of 3. And maybe I know here that Terry and Hannah, maybe you guys don't work together very well. So I can go ahead and
I've been
manipulate
told that
that.
before.
Terry's the troublemaker, you guys.
I am.
So I can manipulate the groups there. And
You
then
can
I would
also
go
make it match desk groups too. If you're working and you want them to collaborate and actually have some discourse, you can make it be your groupings of desk. Obviously, we're not all in desk, we're around the world today. So we're just randomizing it.
Yep, exactly. So as I go to start workspace here, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys get started there. So you're working, you'll see that on your screen, you can go ahead and manipulate your screens. And if I click on team 3, I can see that they haven't started yet, and that's okay. I can go to team 1. Uh-oh. Maybe I just started too soon. Maybe we just need another second here.
We're not fast typers, Mish. We're going. Group 2, we're going. We're going.
Group 2. All right, let's go see team 2. All right. So something that I can do from my screen here is I can see that they're getting started. I like the responses. I can grab my text and say, give some feedback, instant feedback for my students, and only they'll see this on their screen, which is really nice. So this applies also if I made this an individual handout and each of you had your own worksheet here, I can go ahead and give you live feedback and it would just show up on your screen and no one else's. I love that. Turn off water when we brush our teeth, clean up a street, plant a tree. And same thing here, I can go ahead and click and see. I always find Terry somehow.
You do. And they're
I can
not
see
all
whose
mine.
response. They're not. They really aren't. But I always end up finding you. Mrs. Paulson had a response on here too. I
Yeah.
like that this one was an image here. Terry, I went and found you again.
I know it happened. What I really like about group workspaces is the discourse that happens at their tables at the same time that they're responding if you're in face-to-face school, because they can have some great conversations and then they kind of make it come alive on their own little group workspace. And I like at the end that Misha's able to show every group, all of them, but only certain groups could contribute on that particular board. I also like that the fact that we could have started this and then anybody from the group can come back later on tonight with the share link and be able to add more in if we want to have it ready for Earth Day.
Exactly. And something with group workspace, sometimes, I mean, even us growing up, we always got stuck in a group where it was like the same folks were always doing the work and maybe someone wasn't. So it's really nice to be able to go ahead and click on responses and take a look at whose belongs to whose, and you can see that who participated in it. So even though it's a group workspace, all of the people in that group have access. So it's nice to be able to check again who made contributions to that page.
And I also like the fact that when you're looking at contributions, if I started something and then somebody came back up and cleaned it up, like I didn't spell something right, which is notorious for me, you can see both names up there. So you'll be able to see who did both things in that contribution space.
It's pretty cool. I actually didn't know that. So thanks for teaching me something today, Terry.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go on to this next activity here. And I'm going to have to reset it for us here. All right, so the question is, it's not going away on my screen here. There it goes. When you hear about climate change, what is one word that comes to mind? So as you all start to submit your responses, let's see what happens. When you hear about climate change, what is one word that comes to mind? Ooh, iceberg, pollution, global warming, storms. So it's making a word cloud. And what's really exciting here is as some of you are going ahead and putting in the same word, that word is going to grow larger. So it kind of shows me that we've got a few different students that have the same thought. I can always change it to list view and see it that way. I can see that 3 students put pollution, 2 put global warming, and then 1 for save, which just went away, and 1 for storms. And then I can always go back to my word cloud. And as Anshu said in the chat box here, this is part of our response activity. So this is how you would create a formative assessment, which we will go through in just a little bit here.
And I like this sometimes better than the whole class whiteboard. It just depends on what I'm trying to do, because I like it that it's automatically doing the thinking for me about what words bubble up to the top, which words most kids think. Whereas in a whole class whiteboard, you'd have to kind of match them up together. So I think it really just depends on what your end result is, but this is really good for the visual learner for me.
I do love that. It helps you, right, as a teacher, go right into exactly what you need to say next.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move on here. So what I did here was I have an imported PDF. So I found this PDF, actually Terry found it, to be honest, but it is an article that maybe I want my students to read as we get our discussion and our activities started here. So I went ahead and imported this PDF. And what you'll notice here, if I click on this button on the left, it looks like a little book with an audio button. All that text gets highlighted. So this is going to highlight our feature, which is immersive reader. So maybe I want to go ahead and click on this paragraph here and let's see what happens. All right, so now it's nice and big on my screen, but that is definitely not all. From this screen, I can change a ton of different things. So if I go over a word here, I can go ahead and have that word read to me. If I click on a word also, if it is able to, it'll give me a picture dictionary. So I can see that this means standing. I get some images to help me. I have a lot of different text preferences. So I can change the text size.
I love it that you can make it a little smaller, so maybe you can see the whole paragraph on one screen if you want to.
Exactly. I can increase my spacing.
I also
can
like the fact that they added the themes down below.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
if for those, and I am dyslexic, so that light blue is really good for my reading. So those adding those back features for kids that need different accessibility features are all there. And each individual, as you try it right now at your seat, you'll be able to click on that book and do exactly what Misha's doing. You'll see that it's set for individuals.
Yep, exactly. And then also with the fonts, I actually used to be a kindergarten teacher, and I can't tell you how frustrating it was when we had the A's that were written like you see in the Calabri font there or in Sitka. But when you switch over to Comic Sans, those A's are the way that we teach them in kindergarten. And so I always like the option to have the font changed because sometimes my students were like, Miss Granberg, you're teaching us the A like that. And then sometimes we see it like that. What? And so I always like to have that option when it is possible because my students are always going to question me. All right, so then I can also go to grammar options. I can go ahead and have my words split up by syllables. And then with parts of speech, I can also go ahead and have it highlight all the different parts of speech. And if you have maybe an anchor chart close by and you're talking about nouns and maybe you're using a different color, you can change the color that it actually highlights those words in. And then with reading preferences, this has to be my favorite as a kindergarten teacher, but the line focus, also really helpful for my special education students, and having it just focus on one line at a time. Earlier, I showed you my picture dictionary. I can turn that off. And last but not least, look at the hundreds and hundreds of languages that we've got here.
This is probably my favorite feature. It definitely helps with the diverse learners. So pick a language, any language.
I like to go ahead and highlight Spanish because we know that there's a few different versions of Spanish, but let's just go ahead and click this one. And I have it set to change by word. I can also do by document. So now when I go back to my document here, I can switch between the Spanish version and English.
Can you switch it back over to Spanish? This is what I like. Hit the play button now.
Las clases de los viernes, parándose frente a ella.
So if you have an ELL student and we're just trying to get them involved in class, we would want them to switch back and forth between Spanish and original, but it will read to them in Spanish so that they can contribute into that conversation. They don't have to feel left out because they're stuck on some of these words.
We do love that. And last but not least, in the bottom here, I've got my voice settings. I can change the speed that it's reading in, as well as switch it between a female or a male voice. So that's a little bit about my immersive reader here. Now, immersive reader will work with typed text that you have in your Lumio lessons and then imported PDFs. The caveat is it has to be a true PDF. A lot of times if you're pulling in resources, if you ever bring in a PDF and you notice that your immersive reader is not working, unfortunately that PDF is a screenshot. So we'll never work with an image or a screenshot, but if it is a true PDF or written text, you're able to use immersive reader with it. From
You're
here, what I
also
can
able
do,
to group them in groupings. So for my high school, I might put all of that in one text box so it can read the whole thing together. But within inside of, if this is more for third grade, maybe we do need to chunk it a little bit more. So that helps them chunk it. So you have options, and she'll show you that as we show you the build.
exactly. And last but not least, just one more thing I want to show you from this page here is I can zoom it in. It obviously shows you the whole page, but if you're blind like I am, you do have to bring it in nicely like this. You can go ahead and maneuver the page. And then what I'm going to do is maybe I'm talking to my students and I want to tell them, I really want you to just focus on these 3 paragraphs. So as I'm writing on my screen, you'll see that on yours, you see that as well. So if I'm taking notes or talking to my students, I'm highlighting some text. Anything I do here, I'm going to switch to my highlighter, make it thick. Maybe I want them to go ahead and research a word or talk about something. As I highlight on there, you see it on your screen as well.
I'm also, a lot of times we'll throw this as a handout out to the kids. And maybe the first time through, if you're thinking about different close readings, maybe the first time through is to pick out one fact that it was a big aha for. So for me, on this particular article, thinking about Greta being in high school and doing everything she did, that is just amazing. You usually think of people much more in their 30s or 40s being these people that are movers and shakers. And here's a high school student setting the movement for this whole climate change. It's just amazing. But you can do any kind of close reading that you want inside here. Maybe it's words they don't know the first time they're highlighting, anything along that line, and just keep reading it until they get more and more facts.
Exactly. And as you see here, this article is 2 pages and we all read at different speeds. So I don't want my students to have to sit around and wait till I switch the screen to the next page. If I go back to my little people management button here, which is my favorite button because there's so many things I can do from here, you can see that right now my lesson pacing is in teacher mode. That means as wherever I am, that's where you are. But if I switch to student mode, you'll see that now on your screen in the bottom left corner, you can go ahead and switch between slides. So I like to go ahead and turn that on anytime I do need my students to go ahead and pace themselves. But as soon as I need them back with me, I click teacher and it'll shoot you right back to where I'm at in my lesson.
It's probably my favorite feature. Eyes back on me, eyes back on me.
You don't have to go around, make sure that they're at the right page of their books. You just go ahead and do it and it's there for them.
I like this with Earth Day, though. I like bringing in some type of reading, some type of article, some type of something. So they see it's not just me talking about it or my slides that it's talking about it, but others are talking about it also.
I like to think that my students always trust everything that I say, but sometimes you do need that like second voice to really validate what you're doing.
Yep.
All right, so earlier we did a response, and one of the questions that you can do in a response is a short answer where we are able to do that word cloud earlier. But what we're going to do here, and I have to reset it for us here again, because I was playing with it earlier and forgot to do that, which is okay. So now I have you guys participating in a formative assessment. So as you get started, and wrong answers, by the way, are okay for today's purpose. I can see that none of my questions have been started yet. Oh, now it's growing. I've got 4% of my questions answered from this screen. I can go ahead and see that. If I click show questions, I can read my questions out loud if I need to clarify anything for my students. I can see that with question 1, again, I get that percentage of the progress of my students, but I can also show live results. And I can see that everyone is answering with option B. And the reason I really like to do this with my class is like, let's just say everyone was getting the wrong answer. Right away, I'm going to go ahead and regroup and maybe we need to talk about it together. I like getting that instant feedback if they are all getting the wrong answer. From here, I can switch through all my questions here. Got some multiple choice questions. You do also have an option to do true or false. And again, like we did earlier, that short answer.
I love response just because I like, especially at this time of year when we're starting into the test prep section of the year, I love to be able to do the misconceptions. So when you can show on the board like this screen right here, oh, maybe the answer is D. What do we think the misconceptions of the people who have A or B are, or something along those lines? Because sometimes helping the kids understand misconceptions can help them understand the whole question a lot better. So I love data.
You love data.
I
Data's
do love
great.
data.
So when I click on end activity, one more thing I'd like to highlight for you here. I'm going to go ahead and end and review. So again, I can go through and review my results, which again opens up that discussion, or just a fact for me as a teacher that maybe if everyone did get the wrong answer, I need to stop and review right there. But then I have this button here that says export results, which has to be the best time saving hack ever. If you do a quiz right within Lumio, when you click on that button, it actually creates an Excel sheet for you. It has the student's name, the percent correct, percent incorrect, and then it itemizes every single question with their response on it. So great to bring home to do grading, because we all know we end up doing grading at home and we don't want to bring all the things home with us. Really great to bring to an IEP meeting or a grade level meeting. I mean, or just to lunch.
I was going to say the itemized ones are probably the ones I like to take to lunch, because I can say, look, group, I did not teach this well because none of my kids got it right, or it was a bad question that I wrote. Maybe I need to write it a little bit better. But that itemized helps me with my teaching, I think, even better because of how strong they can all answer it or can't answer it.
Exactly. It's really important as teachers that we're reflecting, like, is it something that I did or said, or the way I phrased something, or maybe I just need to go back and review with my students. Maybe that was the concept itself. All right, so now we've got this activity here. We're going to do a little sort. So this activity here is called a super sort, and it is one of 12 games that we have here in Lumio. So here what they'll do is they are going to sort the words into the buckets. And you'll see if I get the wrong answer, it goes ahead and it shoots it back. If I get the right answer, it goes ahead and disappears off my screen for me. So let's see, drinking from reusable bottles, helpful or harmful?
And I think somebody was reading these when they were answering earlier, because it says turn the water off when you're brushing your teeth, which we had in the very first one.
Yep, exactly. So I can go ahead and demonstrate this game for me. Maybe my students are accessing this activity for the first time, or again, I've got that group of students that I like to go ahead and showcase for them. But then I can go ahead and go to view progress, and I can see that 8 of you guys have started, and maybe I have 1 that hasn't yet. And then I can go ahead and click on show results. And that'll give me a few different facts to look at as well. But my favorite has to be student progress. And what it'll do is if you're opening this up on the big screen, it always is going to warn you. This screen shows student names and scores. You're going to show something that you don't want everyone to see. So it always is going to prompt you before you do it. So from here, I can go ahead and take a look at how everyone is doing.
One of the things I like about Lumio is I can also have 2 devices logged in as me. So I could be looking at student progress off of my personal device or off of a laptop while I have the game playing up on the board. So the kids can't even see what the other kids do. It's one of the features that I like about Lumio is being able to log into multiple devices with your teacher. And then Mish was talking about the different games. I love all of the games. There's 12 different games. And one of the ones I would have used with the article would have been a word search, just for the kids to be able to think about what the important words were in that article. Because we're thinking about Earth Day. What are the important things that come up? So that maybe at the end, you're looking for them to write something. So we're just keep talking about those words.
Exactly. And so going back again to getting that instant feedback as teachers, it looks here like Terry did a really great job, but let's just say Terry kept getting the wrong answer. And if she just kept guessing at the exact same one, it tells me like this is something that Terry maybe doesn't know. I need to go over to her table and maybe review with her. So it will show you always if they get the wrong answer, if they're guessing, or maybe they just don't know. So I like that we're able to go ahead and see when they do get the wrong answer on here.
I also like a lot of people will start the class with this game and end the class with this game to kind of see what they learned in between. So you have 2 sets of data to actually show progress.
We love a pretest, don't we?
I do. Told you I like that data.
All right, so now I have this activity. Now this is an individual handout. So we took a look at a full class whiteboard where we all were able to contribute to the page together. We did a group workspace and now I have an individual handout. So I can go ahead and click on my teacher handout if I need to explain anything or demo, but you have a chart here that says, how can you help the earth? Be ready to discuss how you can help. So again, this is a great entry point for my students to be able to brainstorm on their own first. I can show them again that you can go ahead and click on the A and then click on the screen to type. You can write, you can bring in images, and if you notice, I also can use Immersive Reader on this screen. So on your screen, what you'll see in the top right corner is the done button. Now, I like to use that done button in a different way other than just saying, hey, I'm done. What I'll tell my students is, if you feel brave today and I can show your work on the big screen, go ahead and click that done button. So Terry, if I can go ahead and have you click on it. On my end here, I'll see that I've got that green check mark. So that'll show me that Terry feels comfortable with me showing her work to everyone. Now, Terry, I voluntold you to do that. Can I share your work on the screen?
You may still see it. There's only 3 things. I didn't really get to finish it, but I
No
agree with
worries.
Mish. I like to use that feature because I do want to show kids examples, but I don't necessarily want to have to call them out. So that way they know after a while that I just want to be able to show their work. What I like about it is I can still see everybody's work, whether they click done or not. But for me, I don't want to see done is, can I share it? Can I share it? Can I see it?
Exactly. And so again, on this screen, I could click on the A and I'm going to do great work, Terry. And only Terry is going to see that on her screen. So a nice little instant feedback there.
And then I'm going to ask you to go back one more time. Oops, you went forward. That's okay. Hold on. Go ahead. Go back to that screen. And then go back to my paper. And see where you said great work. Click on that now. And then click the drop down. Oh, I must have deleted it off of there. I was going to say, normally it will say up top that it was Terry and the teacher.
There you go. Yeah, I'm glad that you went back and showed us how you can do that. It's not working at the moment. Let me go ahead and let my dog out here.
I do like handouts because I like the ability for the kids to be able to show what they all know, but I like some of those other options in there too. I think it's probably the best reason that I like Lumio is that every page can be something different. I can have everybody working on one page. I can have them working in groups. I can have them working individuals, or I can be in control of it. So you have lots of options.
You sure do. All right, so now I would love to have you guys try and then also see how it is that we built some of these activities together. So from here, if you want to go ahead and just follow along on my screen, or again, you can just go and log in as a teacher yourself. But I'm going to go ahead and leave my lesson.
And she might go a little fast during this. So if you want to watch, remember you'll all get the recording in a couple of days. So if it's easier to watch, but if you want to try to build, go for it.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go to my new button here. And from this new button, I have all of the different things that I can bring into a lesson. So I'm going to go ahead and just start with a YouTube video. So I can go ahead and search. Maybe I've got the littles. I like to do songs with them. So maybe we're going to do this Save the Planet song. You also can, if you already have a YouTube video that you use, you can go ahead and copy and paste that in here as well. But I'm going to go ahead and add that into a brand new lesson here.
And if she had clicked on the red button inside of there, it could have previewed it also. I like to preview anything from YouTube just because every once in a while, you never know what somebody sticks in the middle.
That's very true. That is very true. I do vet my videos, but for time's sake, Terry, I'm just clicking.
Okay, I'm all right with that.
Awesome. So as you can see here, I did start a new file here. I'm going to name it my Earth Day lesson. And then I have this plus button down here, and that is the same as that new button from my home page. So from here, as Terry mentioned earlier, we did that activity, the super sort. Maybe that was good for the younger kiddos. Maybe I want to do a word search with my older students. I'm going to go to game-based activities. And there's those 12 different games that we have available in Lumio. I'll click on my word search here. I'm going to title it Earth Day. Terry and I like to joke around. I was a kindergarten teacher. She was a math teacher. We can't spell.
No.
So bear with me here.
While she's spelling that stuff, what I like about any of the 12 games, they're all made with, once you get the idea, the making it should be under 5 minutes because it's really just plug and play. The back end will do all the hard work. You just have to have the idea. So if you want to match stuff together, or you want to sort stuff, or you want to do a word search, you just have to have the words ready to go. And for me, the best part is there's always options on that right-hand side of every single game, and the options change depending on what game you have.
Exactly. So here in the word search, I went ahead and put in just a few words, and I can change my difficulty level from easy, and it'll show you down here what exactly it means when you click on easy. So here it's just going to show vertical and horizontal words only, no backward or diagonal words. If you click on moderate, now it does diagonal words, still no backwards, and then difficult will do backward words.
And those are hard when they're backwards. I just need to show you. I think the best thing that I like if I had just asked them to read that article on Greta, and then I wanted to see what they knew, I would actually uncheck the show word list because I want them to find those key words that were in the reading. So they would not be able to see what the words are. They have to kind of think about them and think about what they read.
Exactly. So I'm going to click on next here, and we do have themes that are ready to go for you, but you also can bring in a custom image as the background for your game. But let's see here. I'm going to click on the garden because the garden gives me Earth vibes.
It's Earth Day.
Yeah. So then from here, I can go ahead and preview my activity. Here is my word search. And I did go ahead and keep all of my vocabulary words on the screen here, but you'll see this is loading. Hint available soon. If I click on it, it'll give me a hint. Oh, I see one of my words there.
I
And
think
that's
one
what
of
it
the
looks like.
bizarrest things about the hints is it doesn't give you the first letter. It just gives you a letter in it. So it makes it hard. But you notice also they can't just keep hitting hint, 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 but it will give them a hint every so many seconds if they need one. I also like the fact that every kid's screen in your classroom could look different to find the same words. So looking off of each other's shoulders doesn't always work with this particular one.
Exactly. I can also reset it and it changes up the order for me each time. All right, so I want to add in one more thing. I'm going to go ahead and import that article that Terry found for us earlier. So I'm going to go back to my plus button, click on import. From here, I can import something that I already have on my computer, maybe a PDF or a PowerPoint. I have my Google Drive connected, so I can do it that way. My library in Lumio, it's anything that I have saved to my Lumio library. Or if you are upgrading to our new plan, you also have a shared library option. So I'm going to go to my computer. I'm going to go to, I had it saved here. There's that Earth Day article. And what's nice is as it's done loading, what'll happen is that was 2 pages. And you'll see here what I mean when it's done. I maybe just wanted those first 2 pages. So I can uncheck pages 3 and 4, and it's only going to bring in the 2 pages that I want. Maybe for my littles, I just want that first page. And that's it. That's how you get your PDF into your lesson.
Now, when she took that PDF in, that comes in as a flat file, the way it comes in. So that's not going to be readable, but it'll look perfect. But go back to add it again. And you'll notice down towards the bottom, scroll down to the import at the bottom. Oh, nope, not there. Cancel. Go back all the way to the bottom. Those 2 at the bottom, those are how you can make it editable. Those are how you'll know whether it is, whether it can be read by immersive reader. So if I want it to be read by immersive reader, I need to make sure I'm down there. Do the same thing, select which pages you want. And now those differences is the first one comes in as a flat picture. Perfect. Everything's perfect. The second one comes in where it is editable then, and you can combine paragraphs. You can do a whole bunch of different things. The part I like about some of these articles is that you saw page 3 and 4. Page 3 and 4 were the questions that we were asking you on the response. We just put them in response. So I didn't have to flip through pages to grade it. I could get a itemized report right away.
Alternatively, if I didn't want to do that, what I could do here is come here and I have my magic wand. There's those 3 buttons to make it into an activity. I could make it an individual handout. And if I preview, you can see here, maybe I just want my students to circle their answer this way. So that's another way that we could have done that as well. If you have any worksheets and you want to just go ahead and utilize those, we don't want you to reinvent the wheel. So if you have worksheets that you know and love, here's a way that you can use them in Lumio. All right, and then one last thing I'm going to show you here. So here's a lesson that I just made. With my 3 dots, I have my share link. The teacher share link is how I can share it with other teachers. It makes them their own copies. So as they start to do it with their students, it will not mess with your file. And then if I have students that I'd like for them to work on this on their own, I get the student share link. I can post that into their Google Classroom or any LMS that you are using. And we have just a few minutes left here, so I'm going to come back into our lesson for today. All right, so we're going to drop the link here in the chat, but we would love for you guys to join our ambassador community. It is a great place for you all to learn, to collaborate with other Lumio educators. If we ever have any releases that are coming, you guys will get sneak peeks. Maybe we need some beta testers. You guys will get first access to know anything about that. We've got global participants in our ambassador community, and they're sharing their resources. So really great community for you guys to be able to share, ask, and participate. That link is in the chat for you. And then also we've got our Lumio resources, and that link is going to go in the chat as well. We have our Learn Lumio, where you can go and there's courses for you to take. We've got our YouTube channel. Again, we've got that ambassador community, and I'm going to go ahead and go here to our webinars. So just as you had today, here is a list of all of our webinars that are coming up. If you register and you can't attend, you'll get that link sent to you. But if you scroll all the way down, here are all the recordings of all of our past webinars as well.
And a couple more things I want you to take note of. Somebody asked for today's file, so I put that in the chat for you. But there is a lot of other Earth Day files. Mish, if you'll go back out to the Lumio library, you'll see as we're starting to flip into different things that under the featured, you'll start to see some Earth Day stuff. But you can also do just a search for Earth Day. So you'll see past and new ones that are there. And if you click on any single one of those, you'll be able to save a copy of that entire thing into your library. So you don't have just ours, you have a bunch, and then you can pull the activities you like the best to be one big file and use whatever bits and pieces you want. Now, we just searched for Earth Day. You could have also narrowed it down by age band, grade band, what you teach. I tend to go look to see everything because sometimes my high school kids like to do something that a second grader did, like a nice sword activity, just to get them warmed up.
And once you save a lesson into your Lumio library, like Terry mentioned, you can pull different pages. You don't have to use the whole file. You can change the background. Once they're saved in your library, that is your copy to manipulate any way that you would like. All right, so there are those links for you. Again, this is in the chat for you, the link to this page where you have all of the access to this. We also have our Lumio Educators Facebook group, another really great place for you to ask questions and get feedback pretty quickly because there's a lot of us in there, in addition to all the Lumio educators that are very helpful as well.
And the ambassadors. We love it when the ambassadors chime in because you get an even more global experience when you get asking a question.
So fun to see how Lumio is being used all over, and it's fun to get that support from everyone.
And Mish, thank you very much for leading us through this session on the Planet Tech. There is a lot you can do with that Earth Day. You can mix and match all different activities. Like I said, I would look in the Lumio library for a couple, take a couple out of ours, because it will give you a plethora of things to choose from. Everyone, have a nice day.